As a studio owner, you know you have to sell your services, but even thinking about how to do that might make you just a little bit uncomfortable. Know that you are not alone. Many studio owners struggle with this essential aspect of their business. And so today, I want to share with you a very, very effective way, a strategy that I share with some of my very, very special studio owners that really helps you to guide your potential client to the purchase that you want for your business. It's called micro conversions, and I promise you it will help making selling feel so much easier. Well, hi there, I'm Seran Glanfield. I'm a business and marketing strategist just for boutique fitness studio owners like you. If you're ready to be inspired and make a bigger impact, you're in the right place. All you need are a few key strategies, the right mindset, and some support along the way. Join me as I share the real-life insights that will help you grow a sustainable and profitable studio. This is the Pilates Business Podcast. Welcome back to the Pilates Business Podcast. I'm Seran, and I'm thrilled that you're here with me today. I've got my coffee and I am ready to go because we're talking today all about micro conversions and how to make selling much easier. Now, you already know that selling your studio services starts long before a new client hands over their credit card. But how do you get new clients to the point of purchase? Maybe the idea of thinking about a sales process makes you kind of feel a little bit uncomfortable. And if that is the case, you are not alone. Many studio owners and business owners in general really do have a hard time with this because we've all been in uncomfortable situations where we felt pressured and pushed and encouraged beyond what we're comfortable with. And selling, being the person who is doing the selling, can feel uncomfortable also. But with the technique that I'm going to share with you today, something that I have supported and helped a lot of my studio owners inside of my Thrive program and inside of my marketing intensive to implement in their business. I'm going to share this with you today so that, and it really, really helps to take the pressure off, to help to sort of set up that sale long before you're perhaps having the conversation about a purchase. Okay. So it's one of these techniques and these tactics and these tools that I would love for you to be able to implement in your business and to see how effectively you can implement this. It really takes a little bit of time to refine, and it can also be very helpful to have a little bit of help in understanding how and where and when you can use this tactic in your business. So if you've got questions, I'm going to put this out there up front. If you've got a question about this specifically, then you can always get in touch and ask me, okay? So before we get into how to leverage this technique, I want to talk a little bit about some terminology around sales, okay? And we tend to not use this type of language very often in our business because we have such a deep relationship with our clients that talking about people in terms of leads, talking about people in terms of conversions, can feel a little bit uncomfortable, and that almost make you feel slimy and sleazy just using those terms, right? But when it comes to if we're looking through just through that business lens, conversions or converting a client is a term that you might hear frequently when discussing marketing, and specifically and particularly when you're discussing sales. And so what does conversion mean? Well, conversion really is, it refers to that point at which a potential client, someone who is not yet really truly a client, who perhaps is interested in becoming a client or interested in joining your classes or in becoming a regular in your studio, that point in which they switch from that just looking phase into becoming a paying client. And it's that moment that I mentioned earlier where they pull out their credit card and they're going to spend some money in your business. Now, there's a lot of different conversion or conversion points in your business, and there's a lot of different ways that people measure conversions in your business. And so when I work with my studio owners inside of Thrive, we talk a lot about these different measurements of conversions along the customer journey, so that we all know what we're talking about and we all have targets and goals in mind to move us forward and make progress in our business. So you're going to hear the phrase thrown around a lot. If you are educating yourself on sales and marketing, then this is a term that's going to come up a lot. And it's really an important data point in your business to track. Okay. Now, for the purpose of this conversation today, I'm going to be talking about something called micro conversions, right? And this is not a data point, but this is all about how you can help to progress a client along that customer journey. It's actually a sales technique that invites your potential client to make small and positive decisions throughout their customer journey, perhaps before they've fully converted into a long-term client, right? And many marketers attribute micro conversions only to actions taken on a business website, but they can be translated into the face-to-face interactions and engagement that you have with your potential clients. All of these small steps forward happen during the connections the connection that you're making and the communication you're having with your client, whether that's in person, whether that's via your website, whether that's via social media, whether that's on the phone or text message and so on. All of these places are opportunities to create what I call these micro conversions, which is this sort of small stepping stones that guide your client forward to becoming, or your potential client forward to becoming a long-term loyal client. Okay. So to give you perhaps a bit of perspective and a few examples of micro conversions, one could be, for example, joining your email list. So if you have a subscribe button on your website, when your potential client is looking around and perhaps a little bit interested in what you're doing, when they go ahead and pop their email into that subscribe or join our newsletter form, that is an example of a micro conversion. They've shown you and they have taken a small step forward to becoming more connected with your business and to perhaps moving a little bit further down the customer journey. Perhaps. Another example would be agreeing to come into the studio to have an introductory consultation with you, perhaps joining a friend on a guest pass, perhaps downloading a free resource that you offer, and potentially even simply engaging with you on social media. These are all these small steps that your potential clients can be taking that will that help to move them down that customer journey path, and they're also called micro conversions. Okay. Now, these things are pretty easy for your potential clients to say yes to. And, like I said, they help to move your clients along that journey to saying yes to perhaps something bigger, like purchasing an intro offer or purchasing a membership. Something bigger is sometimes called a macro conversion. So not a micro conversion, but a macro conversion, because they've made the big step, right? Now, there are a couple of reasons why I really, really like this kind of focus on these small steps. And a lot of it comes down to taking the pressure off of having that big sales conversation, and helps to take the pressure off of perhaps having to be a little bit more aggressive in your sales conversations if you want people to make that decision quickly. And I know that is not something that most people want to be. Most people do not feel comfortable in a position where they are pushing their clients to make a decision quickly, where they are perhaps even having that conversation face to face. It can be very uncomfortable. And so the more that you can do ahead of time, so that when you are having that conversation, it's not an aggressive conversation. It's a very natural, a very organic, a very relaxed, and a very comfortable conversation that is just completely natural to both you and the client. That is the most perfect ideal scenario. Right? So there are a couple of reasons why micro conversations are really important to setting that sale up for success early on. Okay. Number one is they often are a way to guide your prospect naturally and smoothly towards saying yes to a purchase. Okay. And the other thing that having these sort of touch points along the way can do is it helps to see where there might be opportunities for an improvement in your sales process and in your communication and in your messaging. So it can help to see which aspects of your sales process are working or not working. Okay. And for studio owners like you who might not love the idea of selling and may find it quite uncomfortable, there is the added bonus of taking that discomfort out of selling at all and making it not about selling and sales and that one big sort of commitment and decision, right? It becomes more about these smaller connection points with your potential clients that happen over a longer period of time and happen very naturally, more easily, and very organically. So you can build in these micro conversions into your sales process on your website and inside of your studio itself. And perhaps to give you a little bit of an example, I wanted to guide you through what this could look like in practice. A sales process that is rich with micro conversions along the way. Okay. So I'm going to take you through just a quick example. And this may be something that would work in your studio. It might be something that you might need to adapt for your studio, or it might be something that you can take and perhaps sort of use as a framework for something that would work well in your studio. So for example, let's say that you create a resource. Perhaps you create an educational or informational resource that explains perhaps 5 ways Pilates can ease back pain. And you share that and you promote that free resource on your social media channels, on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok, or wherever it is that you are visible to your potential clients. And what you're doing by sharing this is encouraging your followers to go to your website and get that free resource. And when they do that, when they go to that website, when they click on that link, that's the first micro conversion that exists, right? Visiting your website is the first successful micro conversion. When you have that happen, that's when you start to sort of, you say hello, hooray, 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 right? And that's the first touch point perhaps that client might be having with your business. And if that potential client provides their email address to you, right, and therefore agrees to join your email list, so that they can access that amazing free download that you've filled with incredible insights about how what you do can help them, right? That's the next micro conversion. So just in that one moment, they have engaged with a social media post, they have come to your website and they've given you their email address, right? And by doing those things, they are starting to travel down that path of becoming your client, right? Now, that potential client is on your email or text marketing, in your text marketing database, right? And perhaps they start receiving some of your content, perhaps some of this content, some of your emails that you might be sending out weekly, monthly, bi-weekly, whatever is working well for your business. You're sharing informational and inspirational and educational resources to them in your marketing, and you're sharing messaging with them that is encouraging them to think about taking the next step, right? And perhaps at some point, your marketing messaging during that period of time is so compelling that they decide to schedule that consultation with you, or to book that first session with you, or to come into the studio and check it out, right? And at that moment, that is the next micro conversion in this particular sales process. Okay. So whether you have this conversation via phone or video call or in person, that conversation, that moment where they actively connect with your studio is one of the most important points in the whole customer journey. And possibly because of those small steps that they have taken along the way before that moment, they are, or perhaps come into this conversation or come into the studio or start the conversation with a much more open mind because they know a little bit about you. You've already shown them that you have incredible expertise and knowledge. You've shown them how you can communicate well and effectively, and that you kind of are, you're showing up for your business. You are trustworthy. You are credible, right? So all of this has already shaped the perception that this new client has of your business, which is so incredibly valuable. right? So when that conversation finally takes place, whether it's via phone, whether it's in person, perhaps if you're doing virtual sessions, it would be via Zoom or a video call, or perhaps they just pop in to say, oh, perhaps they send you an email and say they're interested in coming and trying a class, right? You get the opportunity then to open up the conversation to be a little bit wider, and you can be communicating with the potential client directly, which gives you an unmatched chance to convey your value proposition, right? What you are known for, what you're unique, you are uniquely known for, right? And you can tell them directly exactly what that is. And you can also take the opportunity to get to know them a little bit better and understand how you can best help them and what recommendations you might want to make to them, right? So backing up a little bit, back to the example, as you talk with your potential client, you definitely want to be asking those questions and illustrating how your studio can provide the help that they might be looking for. Because remember, if they are picking the phone to you, it's because they're looking for something that they can't get on their own. And the more that you can understand about your client in that moment, the more, the better equipped you are to be able to help them find the right way to access the services that you offer in your studio, right? And help them reach their goals. So this is what you're setting yourself up for, is this moment of connection, right? Connecting with them and encouraging them to take that next step. And when you're having this conversation, you want to make sure you're being as authentic as possible. You want to make sure that you are able to help them with what they're looking for, that they're not in the wrong place, they're absolutely in the right place. And you want to make sure that you are guiding them towards that next micro conversion. So whether that's coming in to try the intro session or coming in for a class or so on, depending on how you set up your customer journey and your packages in your business, it will be unique to your studio, right? Now, when you view that first kind of point of that touch point as a conversation, and you perhaps plant some seeds that sort of help them to understand a bit more about your business and what comes next, you are inspiring them to want to become part of your community and a part of your studio. And so you want to give them a lot of opportunities to agree with you and to get excited, right? And that is about not just giving them the facts, right? Yes, we have a 9 o'clock class. Yes, it costs X, but telling them a little bit more about it, right? Telling them about who is teaching the class and why that teacher is a great teacher. Tell them a little bit more about what the class will entail or how they will be treated once they come in, what they should expect from the experience in the studio, and what other clients love about that particular class, that particular teacher, or your studio. Right? Making this about a conversation that connects you to your client is going to help make it easier for them to move into the next step, and also make it easier for you to be able to help them and for them to be able to get set up as a long-term loyal client in your business. So you see, there's a lot of opportunities along the customer journey. There's many touch points that you can create opportunities for these micro conversions, right? And all of these micro conversions are almost, you should think of them like stepping stones that sort of help guide them forward into becoming that long-term loyal client, right? So what does it mean if the potential client doesn't visit your website, or doesn't opt into your email list, or doesn't schedule a consultation, or perhaps doesn't feel like that, isn't planning on signing up for anything, right? It could mean one of two things. It could mean, number one, that a part of your customer journey, a part of your process, your sales process, your onboarding process, however you want to kind of call it, a part of that might not be working very effectively. It might need some refinement. Perhaps your messaging isn't clear. Perhaps you aren't encouraging enough. Perhaps you're not connecting effectively with your clients, right? Perhaps your website isn't hitting the mark. And they bounce right off as soon as they arrive, perhaps. So you want to make sure that you are reviewing this kind of process often to sort of see where there might be gaps and where there are opportunities for improvement along the way. The second reason you might not be getting the new clients coming in, even if you have got some of these small micro conversions set up, could be because you may not be being clear about who it is that you would like to have in your studio, who your ideal client is. And often this is where marketing messaging tends to fall flat, because if you have a really super clear marketing message that is super compelling, the people who are going to be picking up the phone or joining your email list or signing up to access that very special resource, or coming to the website to read your latest article, or signing up for an intro class at an event you're hosting. Though if you're very clear about your marketing messaging, then you're only going to get qualified people engaging with you and interested in what you're doing. If your marketing message is too vague, it's too generic, what happens is it tends to fall flat, and then you're going to get a lot of people coming in who are just going to come to try, but who perhaps don't see themselves as someone who is going to become a part of your community and a regular and frequent visitor to your studio. Okay. So it's about looking for opportunities along that customer journey to really connect with your clients and helping them to move them forward along that customer journey. Because in today's day and age, there are a lot of options out there when it comes to moving their bodies, getting stronger, taking care of themselves, working out. There's so much out there that they can be doing. And we want to make sure that when they see you, that you are able to guide them forward and show them what it is that makes your studio unique and special and absolutely wonderful. Okay. So there you have it. Just a few ways that you can build micro conversions into your sales process, because number one, they guide your prospect naturally and smoothly towards saying a very easy yes to a purchase. And number two, it can help you to see what aspects of your sales process is working and what might not be working. Okay. So I want to close out with one final tip. The first time you or anyone on your team meets a potential client, this is the most important moment in their whole customer journey, and the whole lifetime as a client of your studio. And I get into this topic so deep with all of my studio owners inside of the framework that I teach inside of Thrive and inside of my marketing intensive, because when that very first connection, that very first touch point is so vitally important. And there's a very, very special way that you can take people from just sort of trying to getting excited about being your client, to getting excited about being a part of your community, and really feeling inspired by what you do. Okay. So I would love to share a bit more about that with you, but you can pop into the show notes and learn a bit more about what I teach inside of my Thrive group coaching program, because this is where we have a lot of these conversations where I share a lot of tactics just like this one that can help to make the small shifts that can make some huge, tremendous differences to your revenue growth over the long term. So I hope this is helpful to you as you go on to build your boutique fitness business. And if you are interested in learning more about Thrive or any of the other programs that I offer, please go ahead and hop into the show notes and find out more.